What's up, guys, and welcome back to the podcast with me, Aidan O'Brien, formerly the Back to You podcast. We have an announcement to make this morning. This is the first podcast of 2023. There's a little change being made to the name, and I will explain before we get into the episode. Today's episode is going to be all about the new year targets, goals, things you set for yourself. I'm going to show you a better way. I'm going to talk to you about what not to do. I'm going to talk to you about why goals are a little bit of a waste of time, actually, or at least goals shouldn't be looked at in the way you probably look at them. So this is a very powerful episode. Stay to the end. There's going to be a lot of stuff in it for you that's going to make an impact, a change this year to make this year different than last year. Now, you might have had a great year last year, and if you have, I congratulate you. But I'm always talking about capacity. There's a lot of space between where you are and what's possible for you, what your capacity is. So we always want to be moving up. We always want to be making progress. Progress leads to fulfillment. So I'm going to give you some strategies, some change of mindset, change of philosophy today to make 2023 very powerful for you. But before we get into it, like I said, a little change of name, a little bit of business to be taken care of first. If you've been at this podcast since the beginning, like the very first episode is understanding the path of Back to You. This whole started with me having a bit of an awakening last year, in terms of how for almost 15 years I've been teaching people strategies and things, how to think and how to develop their mind. And as I was learning and as I was building teams and building businesses, all these things I was learning about mindset and approach to creating our best life. I had a shift when I realized, it's not so much about learning more things to add on. It's about taking away. It's about subtracting. It's about letting go. So for me, my definition of awakening is letting go of everything you are not. And I made a decision to write a book, and the book was called Back to Me. And that was the first kind of moment of my awakening. Was all I have to do is get back to me. I need to stop looking externally. I need to stop being concerned about the illusions of our identity, the illusions of external things that we think are important. It's very clear to me now more than ever. Nothing has ever been as clear to me in my life as, back to me. That's all we have to focus on. It's the ultimate journey. Yes, learning strategies, how to think, how to speak, how to build confidence, self-image, they're all stepping stones. But the ultimate journey is getting back to ourselves, is to realizing we are enough, that we are full, that our highest self needs nothing. And some of my clients kind of probably get tired of me sometimes, always telling them you don't need anything. And, I really drill down on getting rid of the word need from their vocabulary. So I know some of my clients, if you're listening here, you're laughing because you're thinking he always picks on me about that. But it's for you, it's not for me. Okay. And, I will never stop saying it. You don't need anything. The biggest cause of suffering, problems in your life come when you think you need things, and then you are attached to them, and then you have expectations, and then you're worried about losing it, okay, or not getting it in the first place. That's where all our suffering comes from: attachment, expectation. So we don't need anything. So when I had this, and it was an awakening, and this year, like, as much as I'm a proponent for saying what I want to say and living how I want to live, sometimes someone said it to me recently. Like, even though I'm very aware and I do what I want to do I still make adjustments for people? Sometimes, yes. And I think it's healthy to a certain level. But this year, one of my declarations for myself is to not hold back. Some of you are thinking, you hold back? You don't hold back at all. I know I don't, but I'm going to hold back even less. So watch out. Getting back to me this year, I lost my train of thought there as I was going off on that rant about being able to speak freely. I'm going back to me. Back to me is the most important part of our lives now. There's nothing else we need whatsoever in our lives. Okay, so all you have to do today is make a decision that I'm going to start putting priority in external things and being validated by external things. I'm going to start looking at myself. That's what back to me is. So I've made a decision that, when I launched the book, I announced a podcast, and I launched a new program, a yearly group mentoring program called Back to You, that I would call them Back to You because I'm teaching you. And the podcast, I'm speaking to you. So that's why I decided to call it Back to You. And for me, if anyone who knows me, I say yes first and I figure it out later. So I just made a decision immediately from this awakening, like 2 days later. And I was like, book, podcast, new program. I was like, done. Okay, even the next day, I think after when I woke up the next day, everything was clear in my head. But I just announced the names very quickly. And now I really am clear that, even if it's for you, it's about back to me. Like, it's back to me is for you. And this is going to turn into Rush Hour 3, if you remember. You? Who? Me? No, you? You remember that scene with Chris Tucker? If you don't, Google it now. Put it into YouTube. It's going to be like that. So it's like, back to me for you is about me, but it's about you. Okay? So now everything is going to be back to me. So my book is called Back to Me. It's, I guess, officially being announced now. That Back to Me is the name of the book. And I realized I just want the podcast and I want my program all to be back to me. So when you're thinking about it, you're talking about, I'm on the Back to Me program. I'm listening to the Back to Me podcast. I'm reading the Back to Me book. That's how important it is for you to get back to you. I want you speaking about getting back to me, thinking back to me, because it is for you personally about getting back to me. How many times have I said back to me? A lot, and a lot more probably is coming. I still can't remember my point a few minutes ago about speaking freely. I can't remember what I was saying, really. And that's how live these are and how my mind is in 10 different places. But if it comes up, I'll watch back and I'll be like, that's what it was. But that's why we are here. We're authentic. We're real. And if you pretend that you don't ever forget things, now usually it comes back, but I went off on such a tangent about me speaking freely. What was I talking about? That I said I'm going to not hold back with my words or my language or whatever I was saying. Anyway, obviously not that important. So we're going to move on. This is going to be 2023, by the way, really free-flowing. So Back to Me, now the podcast is called Back to Me. My new program, it's not new anymore, it's a couple of months old, it's called Back to Me. And we're having people are loving it, by the way. I mean, the change in people, the power in people already after a couple of months is incredible. So if you're looking this year to be held accountable, if you're looking this year to really, to make a change, to really get some guidance, to stay switched on. The reason it's a yearly membership is because we've 2 calls a month. You can't fall off. The longest you can fall off for is pretty much a week. Because from the call, you're switched on. After a week, maybe you fall off. A week later, we're back on another call. You're switched on again. That's why it's so powerful. So it's a commitment for 12 months. If you want to make 2023 perfect for you, and perfect doesn't mean perfect. Perfect means to the best of your ability, by the way. Back to Me is perfect for you. Okay, so book a call. The link is below. It's a steal as well right now. For January, just for the start of the year, I'm offering it for the pre-launch offer price as well. And then from the end of January, it's going up and it will never come back down, I promise you, because it's already proven. People love it. It works. And it's probably the best investment you can make this year. There's nothing that's going to give you the return that you're going to get for what you're paying. Absolutely nothing near it. Now, a lot of people still want to work one-to-one with me. I have a lot of one-to-one clients. The majority of people still love the one-to-one because it's bespoke, it's tailored. We dive deep into you in each hour. But if maybe that's out of your price range, or maybe it's too deep for you too soon, I said it because it's programmed. Back to Me is perfect for you. It's going to be so much fun with all these words. Anyway, so that's a quick announcement that went on way too long because I tend to ramble. But it's a podcast, that's why we're here. You've probably listening to much worse. What were you watching over the weekend? You're probably watching total crap at some point, right? So there's no judgment here. Back to Me. Book, podcast, program, all Back to Me. One brand, one very, very clear. Again, Back to Me, the book was very personal because it's a bit about my story as well. So that's why, and my awakening was I just need to get back to me. That's all I need. Back to You was about you, but Back to Me is still about you. It's just better now, I think. So welcome to the Back to Me podcast with Aidan O'Brien. Yes, that's my name. Now let's get into the episode today. That was like, those ads people have at their YouTube videos and their podcasts and they go on way too long? That's what that was there. That was way too long. But here we are. Goals, targets for 2023. Goals don't work. Okay? They work temporarily. They don't create lasting change more often than not, because you set a goal, you achieved a goal, and then you go back to how you were before you set the goal. Every year people set goals. Every year people set targets for themselves. Don't set goals for your life, okay? Set the vision for your life, set the standards for your life, and then you can use goals and targets to achieve that, to step into that, to receive that. Most people are focused on, let me set this goal and achieve this goal. It's all block to block. It's all like little short bits of a journey. Okay? Instead of, what's my vision? What's my ultimate vision? How do I want to live? And then you can reverse engineer from there. And then you can start putting in targets. And there's nothing wrong with targets or goals, but they're not going to give you the life you want to live. They're too... Today is not today. It's early in the morning here, and I'm still recovering from a very long run. So my brain cells aren't fully back to life, I feel, and that is definitely coming across, and it's very evident in this podcast this morning. Goals and targets they're too like intermittent. They're not consistent. They're not continuous. They're like start, stop, start, stop, start, stop. When you have a vision, you have a standard. It's a way you live life every day. Like this, in last year, you heard me say a lot, awareness over discipline. I mean, that's a chapter in the book, awareness over discipline, because discipline is good to a certain point. It's a stepping stone. But the ultimate goal is awareness, because when you are aware, you choose in every moment exactly what you're in alignment with. You're choosing from your values. Like there are certain things, like maybe, for example, you don't do drugs. You've never done drugs. If someone offered you drugs, it wouldn't even be a question. Like, how much discipline would you need to say no? 0. Why? Because you have a standard. I just don't do drugs. It's not even a question in my mind. Or for some of you, it's drinking. For some of you, it's eating certain things. For some of you, it's other behaviors. There's certain values you have that are just not, you don't even question them, because you're very clear, you're very aligned in terms of that topic or area. When it comes to the areas you don't have discipline in, okay, you don't choose the right thing, it's because you're not aligned. You don't have clarity. You don't have awareness. You're asleep in that area. And that's why you need discipline to overcome that lack of awareness. So discipline serves a purpose for a while. Discipline works until you get to a stage where you're aware, till you're locked in, till you're in alignment, till you have clarity. Because once you have super clarity, then you can have confidence, then you can have consistency. So the mistake you're probably making every year is, and I've done this for years also, like setting goals. And it's a long time since I've done it, because even a couple of years ago, I was big on teaching, one of my favorite books of all time is called Psycho-Cybernetics by Dr. Maxwell Maltz, which is written in the 1960s, famous plastic surgeon, and he understood the theater of the mind. He said the most important thing was how people saw themselves. So even as a plastic surgeon, even if you fixed a scar or a burn or something someone didn't like about themselves, some people still didn't have confidence after the problem was fixed. So it wasn't the actual physical problem, it was how they saw themselves in their mind. He was the first. Everyone talks about this book, Atomic Habits. I read about 10 pages of it one time, and it's like, that gets a lot of the credit for the self-image thing, and for rituals and how you see yourself. But these books, these truths have been around for hundreds of years. And Psycho-Cybernetics is the authentic, for me, is one of the best ones around self-image. And, so for years I've been talking about that, teaching that you don't want to change the behaviors first, you want to change the self-image first, how you see yourself. So I was a big believer in that. That was all I kind of focused on for a long time. And then I realized as I became more aware and I learned more and more about the self and the mind and the soul and the spirit and all of that it goes beyond just the self-image. It's really the alignment of who you are as a person. Okay, getting back to me, getting back to you. That's the clarity you have. Then you choose from that place. Then you just set targets out of alignment. You set goals out of alignment for fun, for accountability, whatever. But your life isn't dependent on the goals. It's not dependent on, I have a vacation in July, let me get my ass in shape, let me lose 20 pounds before that, let me train for this 10K or half marathon and then never run again. Firstly, you have to get really clear on the type of life you want to live. The first thing you have to do, instead of setting a goal, is set a vision. I've talked about this. There's one of the earlier episodes all about vision and visualization. You have to create a vision for your life. Your vision will anchor you into action. Your vision will pull you forward. Your vision will elevate you up out of your situation. or otherwise you're pushing yourself uphill, you're pushing yourself in mud, you're swimming against the current all the time. You have to create a vision. If you don't have a vision, watch the earlier episode on vision, on visualization. That's going to be a game changer for you. Okay, so once you have that, then you want to really reprogram your self-image. You want to look at your identity. So I use always the example about, like, I'm not someone who runs. I'm just setting a goal of a 5K or a 10K or 20K or whatever. You have to actually change your identities. I'm someone, and I was doing that for years. Like, I am someone who's this, I am this, like, I am. It says in the Bible, I am, and I'm not very religious. But I am, whatever you put after I am is kind of really self-defining. So if you say I am not good in the gym, I am not good at lifting weights, I am not a runner, I am not good at sport, I am not this. You're literally condemning yourself to stay within this box. You're building a box out of fear. You're building a box out of limiting beliefs. So you have to be very careful of what you're saying after I am. And most of it's very unconscious. You're not even aware of it. And that's why the first step for everything, for any change, is awareness. You have to set a new level of awareness. That's it. Like, people, every client I say, you don't have to change anything. Just let's observe first. Let's be the witness. Be the observer, be the witness, look at yourself, zoom out, and look as if you're watching a movie of your own life, of yourself, how you think, how you feel, how you behave. So don't try and change the behavior. That won't work. That's why the mistake people keep making, keep setting goals and try and force a behavior. You're trying to force discipline, but you're asleep and you're conditioned, and your pathways and programs are deeply embedded into you, and you're trying to go against everything you've evolved to be, that we have as humans over thousands and thousands of years, to like, your brain doesn't care about your happiness, right? Your brain cares about survival and saving energy. So we have evolved to create shortcuts, reflexes, part of your brain called the basal ganglia. It's when things get into flow state. When things go into the basal ganglia, when you're in that stage, it's automatic. You don't even have to think. That's why some things become automated after a while, because the brain loves a shortcut. And so we've evolved to be conditioned for the shortcut. You're trying to go against all of that when you're trying to set a goal based on something you think would be cool, and then you've conditioned pathways for decades, and now you're like, I'm going to do the opposite. And you wonder why you fail. You wonder why you fall short. You wonder why after a week or 2 weeks you've given up, because you've gone against everything that's been built into you, that's been programmed into you. So you have to create the vision. You have to deeply visualize to engage all your senses: touch it, taste it, smell it, feel it, hear it, so your body starts to feel like it's real. You have to increase your awareness, so you start to observe and notice where you go, and you keep your heart open, so your everything can shift then. Okay, so you separate from it. You're not identified with it. It's not me. So when you're not aware, you're stuck to something. You're like, this is me. But when you observe it, you realize that's not me, and you pull back. You create space between it, the behavior, the thought, the feeling, the emotion. You separate and think, that's not me, and you choose something different. Now it can transmute. Now it can change, because it can shift. It's not powered, fueled. You're not plugged into it anymore. Your identity is not plugged into it. You may need to pause this, rewind, and listen to that again, because that last minute or 2 minutes is powerful. It's life-changing. I'm not exaggerating. It's life-changing. When you can observe, when you can be the witness, you can zoom out, separate from the identity, separate from the program, it can change. You're trying to shift the program. You're trying to shift the behavior all the time without shifting the program first. I'm going to get up early. I'm going to save money. I'm going to run. I'm going to better communicate. I'm going to be a better leader. I'm going to be blah, blah, blah. I'm going to eat healthy. All of these things, and all your beliefs, all your programs, all your patterns are the opposite, and they've been embedded and programmed for years. And then you think discipline is going to save you. Discipline will get you to a point, but unless you shift the awareness, discipline becomes exhausting. That's why people say, I'm just too tired. I just need a break. You shouldn't need a break. You need a break if you're forcing yourself against the current all the time. That's when you need a break. Good things, intentional things require effort, yes, but it shouldn't be exhausting to the point where, like, I just need to eat something shitty because I'm so tired from eating this good thing. I just need to sleep in. I just need to watch this. I just need to scroll this. I just need 5 minutes on TikTok or Instagram just to go back to my old pattern so I can breathe in my comfort. Because you're exhausted trying to go against a program that's already embedded in you. So the vision, getting clear, is so important. Observation, zooming out, being a witness of where your mind goes, where your body is your mind also. Like people say, my mind is separate. Your body is your mind. Your mind is your body. Your brain is, you're all a brain, all of you. Your body remembers as much as your mind does. Your emotions remember. Okay, so you have to become more aware to look, where do I go? Where does my mind go? Where does my body go? Where does my emotions go? Only when you observe it, you create space from it, now it can change. If it's stuck to you, you cannot change it because you're in a straitjacket and it's exhausting. This is the secret sauce and no one's talking about it. I never heard Tony Robbins talk about this. People call me Irish Tony Robbins. I've never heard him talk about this. All these other people like these days, I've never heard anyone talk about it like this. I'm telling you, I know it from years of working with people. This is a game changer. This is a life changer. Okay. Also, the big reason, which we're not going to get into in this podcast, but what I do with a lot of clients is the awareness. We want to look back then at what caused all of these programs, what caused all of these patterns, because it all came from our childhood. It all came from our childhood. Everything. And once we look back and we use that as a school to learn from, not as a house to live in, a school to learn from, and then we heal it, now we free ourselves. A lot of people are creating visions this week, this month, and it's all based on still fear. It's based on expectation. It's based on attachment. So what we want to do is heal first, so then we create the vision. It's a totally different vision. Like my clients create a vision at the beginning, and then 3 months later they revisit their vision, or I make them do it before that. Typically we'll do it sooner, but even after 1, 2, 3 months, like that's not even what I want anymore, because now they're coming from a place of clarity. They're coming from a place of alignment. They've removed some of the fear, and it's a beautiful thing. You're like, fuck, I was asleep before. I was so asleep before, you know? So guys, this is the point. Don't just go and set goals this year. Look at your vision for your life. And then you have to raise the standards of what you tolerate. Like one thing Tony Robbins did say, that I remember when I first started listening to him many years ago, he says, people get what they tolerate. And I love that's true. We get what we tolerate. If we tolerate eating shitty foods, that's what we're going to get. We're going to continue to do it. If we tolerate people speaking to us badly, if we tolerate people not treating us or giving us the respect that we deserve, or giving us what we give them in terms of time, energy, focus, attention, if we tolerate that, we're going to get it. If we tolerate people at work treating us poorly, giving us all the work, you know, you're so good at doing your job, your boss keeps giving you more, you tolerate it, you're going to keep getting it. You know, it's your relationship, it's not a two-way street. It's going to be a problem. You're going to keep getting it. It's going to get worse and worse. You get what you tolerate. You have to raise your standards for you. You make a decision. I'm raising my standards. I am not tolerating this anymore. I'm not tolerating this behavior. I'm not tolerating the way I treat myself. I'm not tolerating the way I think. I'm not tolerating how I speak about myself. I'm not tolerating the way I treat my body by feeding it junk and not moving my ass. Okay, so when you raise your standards, you don't tolerate things anymore, your life begins to change. Your values shift. Like, this is a value. That's why a lot of relationships don't work. We take on people, their values don't align. We take them on, like we accept them, we stay with them because they give us something we can't give ourselves. And we think, ooh, that's attractive. Even though there's 10 things we don't like, we're like, ooh, I like that a lot and I love this. And we stay because of that, and we ignore all of this because, first of all, we don't know ourselves, we don't love ourselves, and we don't give ourselves this, so we need them to give it to us. But then all these values don't match, and then the relationship becomes toxic. And then the relationship turns to shit, which happens all the time. Happened to me so many times. Because the values don't align. So you have certain standards, but if you don't have clarity, there'll be areas where you don't have standards. So you have really good standards. Some of you, for like your gym, you're in the gym every week, but your relationship standards are shit. Or your food standards are good, but you know, how you think and how you speak to yourself standards are low. Your self-confidence and self-esteem. So you have to raise standards in all areas of your life. It's so important. And you want to get super clear on your values so you know who you are. And if someone aligns with that, great. And if they don't, adios, ciao, bye-bye, slán leat, as we say in Ireland. Okay, so we actually don't say it enough in Ireland, but that's a different problem for a different podcast for a different day. We should say slán more, but we don't. We say bye. Anyway, all my Irish, they know what I'm talking about. So that's it, guys, today. It's going to, we could talk about it in circles, but I think you get the point. Don't just set goals. Shift your awareness. Create a vision. Raise your standards. Create some non-negotiables in your life for the year. Like when you raise your standards, this is a non-negotiable for me. I call them pillars. Pillars and non-negotiables. I have a lot of words for everything because some words resonate with some people, some don't. So as a coach, as a mentor, I'm always having a couple of different options for everybody until it hits. So maybe non-negotiable is what you need, but some people are a bit sensitive for that and they feel pressure with a non-negotiable. So maybe it's a pillar then that's supportive. So again, even this awareness of you learning things like that help you in relationships too. Like, how does your partner like to communicate? So everything has to be taken into consideration. And again, you might say, well, it's not my problem to know how they want. It is actually. And if you want to be a leader of your life, which you should, you don't have the luxury of it's not my problem. Leaders don't have the luxury of that's not my problem. Leaders, and there's a thin line, of course, you don't want to take everything on board too much and overwhelm yourself. But a leader takes on more than the average person. And you don't have to be a senior executive. You don't have to be someone who's leading a team. Everyone should be a leader in their life. Okay? And especially men should be leaders. Because a man's job, a masculine energy is to lead, is to provide, is strength as well. And it doesn't mean women can't lead. It doesn't mean women don't have strength, because they do, and I know they do. And it's amazing when they do, and it's sexy when they do. But a man in particular should be leading his own life. One of the most masculine things you can do is be a leader of your life. Lead your health, lead your mind, lead your body, lead your career, lead your business. Lead in a way. Okay, so in some way, in all the ways really, but in a way that empowers you in particular. Like a man should lead his life so that he has strength in himself. He has courage in his heart. He has belief and confidence. Every man deserves that, but it's up to him to go and get it. It's our responsibility to go and do that. No one's going to do it for you. And I think today so many women do so much because they're so much in their masculine, they're so strong that the man doesn't even have to be in his masculine anymore because the woman is carrying so much of that load. And then she has no space to be feminine then. And you're wondering why the chemistry's not there anymore, the passion's not there anymore. Where's that sexual chemistry, that sexual tension? Where's it gone? Because she has to be in her masculine all the time and you're too much in your feminine. So why the hell would she be, why would there be that tension there? There needs to be that tension, that polarity, that, the masculine, the feminine needs to be there for that. So it's important that a man creates and leads his way, that he's strong in himself, that he is in his masculine, so that the woman not only doesn't have to be in her masculine, but you create space for her to be in her feminine. Because that's what you want. You want your girl to be feminine. You want her to be nurturing and loving and beautiful and sexy. But if she has no space to do that because she's too busy carrying that load for you because you're not doing it yourself, what do you expect, bro? Okay, so that was a little side tangent on relationships. It's going to come up more in the relationship podcast, which I know you're waiting for, but it's going to be done in January 2023. It will be released in January 2023. You have my word on that. So yeah, men should lead their lives and create the standards for themselves. Okay, create new standards. We should have higher standards for ourselves than anybody else can impose on us as a man, I believe. And again, it's a journey. It doesn't matter if you haven't up to now. The point is, if you watch this now, you're listening now and you're like, okay, now from today, that's enough. That's enough. Your best is always enough. That's what people miss sometimes. Like, I'm not good enough, so you don't do anything. It's like, that's ridiculous. Your best is always enough. If you're a man out here listening, as long as you're doing your best, you ask yourself, am I doing my best? Can I give more? I've given everything. That's enough. And actually women are very, they're aware of that and they're in tune to that and they'll see that. And again, you're not doing it for the woman, you're doing it for yourself first. But also if you're providing, you're a husband, you're a partner, you're a father, of course you're taking care and you're leading for that. But a woman will see that. Okay, and then she will actually feel obliged and pulled and be magnetized to be more feminine, to be more supportive. Once she sees her man is strong, leading for himself, being better. And if you're single out there, fellas, it's more important. It's even as important, or if not more important, to go and lead for yourself, to be a man for you, not to be waiting, not to be just waiting and looking and, oh, if this comes, if that comes, get out there and lead. The first thing is physical. Get your ass in shape, move your ass, get strong, get healthy, get your mind right, feed your mind, get coaching, get mentoring. Realize you don't know it all. Like one of the biggest mistakes people make is, I know about this, because I used to always be like this. I know. And my dad used to kill me when I was a kid. Like, don't say I know, because I fucking knew everything. I know. And it's the surest way to stay stuck. So let go of I know. Let go of the expertise. That I know keeps you mediocre, keeps you average. Have a beginner's mindset. Be a student of yourself. It's such a beautiful time of the year. You can build this whole year. You can do whatever you want to do. And we'll do another episode talking about different targets and goals, like physical ones, mental ones. I will give you some targets and goals and things. But the important things today at the beginning of the year, when you're starting out, that you realize, I don't just want to set a goal for the year. I want to create how I live my life. I want to think 2-3 years from now, how do I want to be living? And you plant those seeds now. You live from that future now. That's the key. You start living, you start raising the standard for your life, and you live in a certain way. You don't need discipline then. You're aware, like, this is how I live. This is just what I do. That's most important. That's all you have to do. That is all you have to do. Just make a decision today. Start today. Don't wait till tomorrow. Move your ass. One of the first things you do is get in shape. That's the energy you get and the confidence. No one can take that from you. When you get your body in a place that's strong, it's healthy, you get leaner, you lose some body fat, there's a confidence that comes there that a car, house, money, job can't give you, because it's earned. It's earned. And that's for men and women. There's nothing better than getting your ass in shape, feeling healthy, getting your mind clear, getting peace in your heart, knowing who you are, trusting yourself. That is sexy. That is power. Okay, and that's ultimately love. That's how we live from that place of love. We're happier people then. So I think that's a good place to end it. I hope you got some value. If you like the podcast, guys, please leave a rating, whether it's on iTunes or Spotify or wherever. If it's on YouTube, you watch this, give a like, give a comment. Please share this with someone, with your friends. I know you have like-minded friends. Share that. That's how the podcast grows. That's how more people get to hear it. If you like it, please send me a DM on Instagram at Aidan O'Brien Official. I love hearing from you guys. I love hearing what you like about the podcast. If there's other things you want to hear, you want me to talk more about, please let me know as well. And I'll happily cover that for sure. And yeah, that's it. If you're interested in a Back to Me program, if you're interested in one-to-one coaching, there's a link below. Book a call with me. I speak to everybody first. I don't let anybody join any of my programs unless I speak to them, because it's my time also and it's my reputation. After all these years I'm doing this, I don't care about temporarily making you feel good. I care about results. So I want to make sure you're ready to do the work. If you're ready and I'm ready and together we make a decision, then we can achieve everything together. So book a call if you want this year to be held accountable, if you want to go deeper, faster. Because alone, you've tried it alone all the time, it doesn't work. Everyone successful has coaching or mentoring. For clarity, for strategy, for accountability, for support. Going alone is exhausting and it costs you more time, energy and money in the long term. So make a decision, get some support. Now is the best time. The price is the best it's ever going to be. And the price shouldn't matter. You're not paying for coaching. You're paying for the outcomes. You're paying for more confidence. You're paying for better relationships. You're paying to be better in your job, better in your career, more sales, to live a happier life, to live inside your head every second of every minute of every hour of every day of every week of every month of every year on a higher level with peace, love, strength, power, fulfillment. That's what you're paying for. That's why it should be 100 grand is what it's worth at least. So be grateful for what you're able to get for it. The most important investment you can make is into you. Be grateful that you can do that. Okay? Or just continue, wasting time, money and energy on external things that are not going to give you any fulfillment whatsoever. They're not going to satisfy you. They'll give you temporary pleasure, temporary dopamine hit, but they're not going to give you lasting, everlasting peace, fulfillment, joy, acceptance, and all the things you're really looking for, which you have already in you. So that's what we do. We show you how to access what you have already, not how to go out and get anything. That was the doorbell. I don't know who it is, but I'm going to go answer it. It's a perfect time. Saved by the Bell. We'll see you in the next episode. Peace.